Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 2022 meeting of the West Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. I'm calling this meeting to order today, and we are meeting this morning by live teleconference pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, as amended by Assembly Bill 361 to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Members of the public have been invited to participate in the meeting via live stream or phone call, which information was included on the agenda. Will the meeting clerk please call the roll?
Ramos?
Here.
Vice Chair Alcala?
Here.
And please note that Director Ledesma will be absent from this meeting.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. So we'll proceed with our agenda. And the first item is item 1A, presentation by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of WSAFCA. Has there been any inquiries or anyone wishing to speak at this time?
There are no comments received from the public before now regarding the agenda.
Hearing no one, we'll move on to item 1B, which is a report out on the closed session.
Good morning, Chair Ramos. The board met on the two items listed on the closed session agenda, had discussion, and took no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. Item 1C, monthly and year-to-date revenue and expense reports.
Good morning, board members and staff. I will be reporting out on revenue and expenditures for the month of August 2022. In our O&M Fund 870, the beginning balance was $3.73 million. There's no revenue, and expenditures totaled $11,000, making the end position $3.72 million. In our CIP Fund 871, the beginning balance was $5.91 million. There's also no revenue, and expenditures totaled $219,000, making the ending position at $5.69 million. So at the end of the month, the combined cash position was at $9.41 million. As of October 10th, the position was at $10.68 million. So
You're breaking up on us, Jen.
If we put out zero out the fund in the near future, I believe this is still closing out here. 1,970 negative accrual in Fund 870 expenditures for the past fiscal year as well. The agency received a second check for the time oil settlement, an amount of $45,616. And the agency also received $82,379 from state for Southport real estate. And so hopefully within this next week or two, they'll be closing out their books for the prior fiscal year, and we'll have a more accurate number for our cash balance. So with that, I conclude my report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. You broke up on some of that, but I think we got the gist of the report, and it's in front of us, obviously. Is there any questions from the board on the reports?
None.
Okay, thank you. I have none as well, so we will move on to the consent portion of our agenda. And today we just have two items: the consideration of the state of emergency to meet via virtually, and the consideration of approval of our September 15th, 2022 meeting minutes. If there's any questions, or if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Alcala, and I will second the motion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Chair Alcala?
Aye. Aye.
Chair Ramos.
Aye.
Consent agenda passes with a 2-0 vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On to the regular agenda. And item 4A, WSAFCA project updates.
Thank you, Chair Ramos and board members. Not a whole lot to report out this week. Just a couple of things to note. One is because of the lack of precipitation, it looks like we're going to be keeping our the pumps and such for the Southport restoration areas in service for a while. So staff is preparing a time variance request to submit to the Central Valley Flood Protection Board so we can keep the equipment in the field into the flood season. And as we start to see indications or continuing drop in temperatures and or forecast for precipitation, then we'll make arrangements to remove that from the floodplain. And then for the federal project, the meetings have started back up with the Corps, the PDT. Primary focus for them over the last several weeks has been putting together the life cycle project schedule, where they're lining out all of the reaches and the timeframes, excuse me, to get everything completed. Right now, it's a very serial approach to getting the project designed and constructed. Serial in the sense that they're going to do one reach at a time, with the Sac River North being the next increment for design, and that's being broken up into 3 individual reaches that they're contemplating for design and then construction. And so that has pushed the project schedule pretty far out into the future. I think we're looking at 2032 now for final project completion. That schedule is not set in stone. We will be revisiting it. And we're also engaging the Corps in conversations now, pretty much at all levels of the Corps, certainly district. Paul and I had a conversation with representative from division just the other day. And we will also be communicating with Congresswoman Matsui and her staff for and promoting and recommending that we do some of the work in parallel. There are some smaller segments, the training dike that sticks out off of the Sac bypass, the reach that's by the stone locks. There are some smaller projects, what we're kind of coining low-hanging fruit, that we're going to be recommending that the Corps and the team move forward and do some of this work in parallel so that we can keep that schedule, try and shorten that schedule from where it currently resides. And to that end, we're supporting funding for that effort. Right now, we have the Corps is working on FY22 funds, which between the work plan and the appropriations is about 25 mil, which is enough to get construction started and completed for Yubble South in 2023, calendar 2023. And then the 23 appropriations, both the House and Senate bills contain the roughly $80 million for our project. We anticipate that those bills or that bill will be passed when we come out of the continuing resolution, which right now is scheduled to end December 16. But the Corps has also submitted their request for the president's budget for FY24. We hear that amount is somewhere on the order of $50 million. We can't verify that, but that's sort of where the ballpark where we think that's landing. So as we learn more from the Corps, we're going to continue to lobby for receipt of those funds, which will help us and the broader team be able to move in parallel with some of these activities for the project. I think the first order of business that the Corps is going to be pushing for is, you probably heard us talk about the risk cadre, the risk-based analysis for design of the remaining features. That's a Corps cadre of folks. They pull experts from across the nation. We have a risk cadre that we used for Yubble. The Corps wants to engage them, not just on the next reach for Sac River North, but to look at all of the remaining reaches. And we support that effort. And also we're recommending that they continue geotech investigations beyond Sac River North, which we're trying to complete now. We want to do that for the remainder of the reaches to provide more information to this risk cadre so they can support recommendations that we may come to for how we treat the remaining reaches as compared to what was anticipated by the GRR. So that's kind of a lot of stuff up in the air, nothing concrete, but just wanted you to know that we're working very hard to try and keep this project moving forward in an efficient manner and do as much as we can, as quickly as we can to get projects designed and constructed, get that risk actually reduced and have this project not last another, 10 years. We had a tour with the Corps on Tuesday of this week. There was a risk management group from Division that was touring several projects in the Sac Basin here, Southport being the last on their stop. And that tour went very well. The Colonel came out a lot earlier than expected to see at least one of our projects. They all, they were also, before coming to the Southport project, they were at the Sac bypass. So by extension, they saw the Sac bypass levee that we recently, the 2011 construction for the CHP Academy. But we were able to, showcase the good work that we did out of Southport. Folks were pretty amazed at the restoration and what it looks like now in 3 years. We have some trees out there that are, 40, 50 feet tall now. But certainly in the last year, I would say, especially, the restoration areas have really matured and sunk their roots very deep. And so it's just going to continue to get better. And that, I think, really made an impression on the folks that visited, that and the ability to set back the levee to create that space. And, knowing that it's somewhat self-mitigating for Southport, and then roughly 100 acres to be dedicated for future mitigation of the remaining project elements. So that was resonating with the Corps, at a time when they're looking at nature-based solutions in combination with engineering solutions to solve our larger water needs, including flood protection. So I think this was really good timing and showcased the work that WSAFCA could do. And the Colonel was very supportive of West Sac and mentioned how good of a partner we've been in working these projects. So it was very well received. And we were also, Paul and I were able to talk with Karen Beresford out of Division about keeping our project on track and be able to utilize funds and doing work in parallel. And that seemed to be well received as well. So I think that's about all I had. I'll check in with staff to see if I'm missing anything that I should be reporting out on. And if not hearing anything from them, then happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Okay.
I just want to say great work.
This engagement with the Corps, it's changing, but it continues. And we know from watching our friends and neighbors across the river that you got to stay constantly engaged and promoting and advocating. And it was great to see you have the Colonel out and others from Division, because that's where it starts. We need their support, when we or others go back to Washington to work on the appropriation. So let's just keep it up. So.
Oh, and just one other thing to mention, Chair Ramos, you were in attendance at the flood forum yesterday, along with myself and Paul, and the main speaker at the flood forum was an environmental scientist with the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm drawing a blank on his name at the moment, but he's leading an effort, a nationwide effort that crosses many federal agencies, Corps, and others, as well as some private entities for these nature-based engineering solutions for things like flood control. And there is, back in DC in November, there's some conference around these nature-based solutions. And one of the examples that's being presented at this conference or symposium is the Southport project. And so it was really nice to see that our project and what we were able to accomplish with Southport continues to bear fruit in terms of being an example of how we can do things in and around an urban area to, expand the floodplain and to something appreciable of what it may have been before we started channelizing everything to provide robust flood protection. So anyways, that was good to hear. And I just wanted to share that with the board.
Yeah, I think that was a very good speech he gave yesterday. I can't remember his name either now, but we should probably look it up. But
Dr. something.
Yeah, it's very timely in the fact that the study for the bypass is going to start, and that what is decided and what comes about there affects our project down the road. So it's good that you have someone of that high level out here to really get the hands-on look. And I guess there's a major tour going on today of all the different aspects of that. So
yeah, I think that's
all good as far as the tour. Yeah,
I think that tour is primarily, if not entirely, focused at the south part of the bypass. And
well, they were starting out at the Fremont Weir. So
oh, really? Okay.
And yeah.
And then and Norma, Tom's obviously been with the agency for some time, and you're, let's say, relatively new to WSAFCA. And when we talk about the Yolo bypass, which literally is on our western border, what goes on in the bypass affects us from water surface elevation and from a flood perspective. And so we have an interest in what goes on there, and we'll be participating in the coming feasibility study for a Yolo bypass master plan, which is looking to get funded by the Corps in the FY23 appropriations bill. And so we will have a seat at the table for that study through the Yolo Bypass Cash Loop Partnership, which is a recognized non-federal entity that will be participating in that study. But then also, part of our federal project is roughly 20 miles of the Deepwater Ship Channel West Levee, which is, for all practical purposes, a major portion of the Yolo Bypass East Levee. And so what may occur with that study, or what they may recommend from that study, could affect how we implement that particular reach of our federal project. And so that reach, in terms of the schedule, is pushed out as far as we can, so that we can take advantage of what comes out of the Yolo Bypass study and whatever recommendations they may make. How does that dovetail with our project? And is our project going to remain as is, or may it change a little bit? Certainly our seat at the table is, if there's going to be a change, it needs to benefit West Sacramento. So just sort of broad context about what's going on in the bypass. We'll certainly keep the board informed when that study kicks off, and then we'll keep you updated as our participation and how that study progresses. And in parallel with that study, the state is also a partner, but they're looking even broader than what the Corps is going to look at for a Yolo bypass master plan that's going to have lots of other things, in recreation opportunities and other things as well. But it will be a companion piece to the Yolo bypass study that the Corps is going to be doing. So
okay, thank you, Greg. I appreciate the the update, and I know how critical the bypass is. I remember when I was a student many years ago, 40 years ago, we didn't have the bypass there, how critical it was. We couldn't even get to our classes at UC Davis sometimes. So thank you.
Okay, you bet.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Good update as usual. We'll move on to our next item, which was director's comments. Is there any comments from the board?
None.
And I'm okay too. So with that, we'll move to item 4C, which is adjournment. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see everyone next month.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.